Welcome to Management of Risk Practitioner training course. A little bit about One World Training. One World Training is a global training, business simulation, and training company having its offices in the USA, UK, the Netherlands, India, Malaysia, and other parts of the world. We provide training in IT, business management, and project management, along with standards like ISO 1s, GDPR, and other trainings for both individuals and organizations. We deliver courses in different ways. We offer public classroom-based training, online from home or work, e-learning, blended approaches, and on-site trainings for private and government organizations. We are an authorized training company and we are endorsed by leading global professional bodies. We have a few of the endorsements on this particular slide. A little bit about the MOR risk management practitioner certification, the exam format. It's going to be a 2 hour and 15 minutes examination. This would be an open book examination. You could use the official MOR 4 guide for the exam. And no other material other than this publication could be used. The official manual may be annotated and tabulated, but no sticky notes and loose leaf papers containing additional notes would be allowed. If you have a printed copy, I would recommend annotating the book and tabulating the book. That would really help you in saving time and going to the right section at the needed time. The questions are multiple choice questions. There would be a total of a total score of 33 out of 60 is required to pass the examination. Now, what are the course objectives and what are the various learning outcomes? There are 4 broad course objectives. At the end of this course, you would be able to understand the purpose and principles of risk management. You would be able to understand how risk management applies within and across the 5 perspectives. You would be able to understand how people and culture influence effective risk management. And finally, you would be able to gain understanding on how to apply the 8 processes of risk management to create and protect value. We'll start with module number 1, understanding the purpose and principles of risk management. So we have broken down module number 1 into 6 sections, and each session does align with a learning outcome, which would help you understand the syllabus areas within the MOR framework. So we would be covering the following sessions. In session number 1, we would describe risk. Good to kind of define what risk is, what is risk management all about, and why is risk management important, and why is it used, and how do we differentiate between risks and issues is something that we would examine in session number 1. In session number 2, we would describe how risk management supports corporate governance and enterprise risk management, and we're going to describe the relationship between them. In session number 3, we will explain the different risk management challenges that a product-oriented organization faces. In session 4, we would assess how risk management is affected by functional-oriented and product-oriented organizations. And in session number 5, we will describe the purpose of principles and why they need to be applied in risk management. And finally, in session number 6, we will apply and analyze the principles. So these are the broad learning outcomes that we would be studying as a part of module number 1. Let's begin with session number 1. In this particular session, we will describe risk. We will describe what risk management is and why is risk management used, along with providing you with an understanding of the differences between risks and issues. Good to kind of begin our journey with the definition of risk. A risk is defined as an uncertain event. Now, in the world of statistics, we use terms like probability, likelihood. They all kind of refer to a state of uncertainty. So risk is an uncertain event or set of events that, should it occur, will have an effect on the achievement of objectives. So mathematically speaking, you could say risk is a factor of uncertainty or probability times impact. So risk is a combination of these two key factors. It's a neutral concept. Risk could either be a downside risk. So when we talk about a downside risk, we're talking about a negative risk, a risk that would be detrimental to the objectives of a project or a program or a portfolio. Whereas an upside risk is an opportunity. In other words, it's a risk that would bring about a positiveness to your project objectives. It could, let's say, bring about, let's say, an early delivery of a project might help you gain some additional incentives. So that's an example of an opportunity. Now, the AXELOS definition is consistent with the risk management's international standard, ISO 31000, which describes the risk as to the uncertainty's effect on objectives. Other definitions have the same purpose, for instance, uncertainty that matters. Now, the following points are included in the definition of risk. Now, several uncertainties exist, but uncertainties are the risks only if they would affect objectives must they happen. Now, when we think about risks or uncertainties, we're talking about uncertainties within the area of our focus. Let's say, for example, if we are working on a project, we are looking at the uncertainties that would impact the project objectives. Well, any other uncertainty that goes outside the scope of a project would not be of relevance to that particular investment or initiative. Now, risk could be either negative threats to objectives, as we looked at earlier on. It could be a downside risk that would destroy the value which is planned if they occurred, or it could be a positive opportunity to objectives that would make additional value if they happen. An example is, let's say, due to certain weather conditions, a particular piece of equipment that you're using might malfunction on a construction project, which might result in delays on the project or which might result in a cost overrun. An example of an upside risk would be, let's say, due to early delivery of the project, you could capitalize on the incentive within the contract, thus helping you with additional funding or additional revenue on the project. Now, it is unlikely to identify, prioritize, as well as manage risk if the objectives are unclear. So it's very important that we define the objectives of an investment at the very outset, be it a project, program, or a portfolio. It is only then we would be able to prioritize and manage risk really well. Mostly in organizations, a hierarchy of objectives exists over two or more perspectives: strategic, program, portfolio, product, project, and operational. These are considered to be perspectives in MOR. We'll study them in greater detail, but the idea behind this particular point is when we work, let's say, in the operational environment, we are looking into operational risks that would impact the operational objectives, for example. When we look into project risks, we are looking into risks that would impact the project objectives. So we would need to kind of clearly articulate the objectives across these perspectives, and accordingly, it becomes easy to manage risks. Now, risk management's objective is not to reduce all the risks, but to take considered risks to create as well as to protect value. In other words, we are making eyes-open decisions. It's not about reducing all the risk, but making eyes-open decisions.